You have seen her before, not in this life, perhaps, but somewhere deeper where memory has no name. A glimmer behind the eyelids at night, a voice calling from the center of a dream. She stands at the edge of firelight, barefoot in the snow, her dress soaked with something darker than water. You call it beauty, but it does not answer. It watches. It waits. Her smile is not hers. It is borrowed from every myth you've forgotten. Eve, Lilith, Persephone, the Virgin, the whore. She carries them all. You thought desire was yours, but she is the one who summoned it. She is the hunger that shaped your mother's silence, the wound behind every woman you swore you'd save. You mistook her softness for safety. That was your first mistake. The second, believing you ever had a choice. You are not falling in love. You are falling into something older, something with teeth. You see her walking beneath the moonlight and think she is light itself, graceful, silver, untouchable. But that light you worship is only reflection. The moon does not shine. It borrows. She borrows. You do not see the darkness that feeds her glow. You fall to your knees. Not because she is divine, but because she awakens something ancient inside you. Something that remembers a time when the feminine was not a figure, but a force. You speak to her like a man. She hears you like a god. And that distance, that fracture, is where the mask begins. You call her beautiful because you must name your fear something gentle. You call her kind because you hope to tame her. But even her kindness is a spell, conjured not to comfort but to ensnare. She is not what she says, and not what she hides. She is the in-between, the shimmer in the corner of your eye when the dream ends too suddenly. She is the mask you dream of kissing, never noticing that it never breathes back. You wanted someone to touch, but she is not flesh. She is symbol. Every gesture she makes opens a door in your unconscious. She tilts her head and you remember your first wound. She brushes your arm and you forget your father's voice. She doesn't have to try, she is the mirror that was always there. And still, you believe she chose you. That is your delusion. The Anima does not choose. She waits. She waits for the man who dares look into her without collapsing. But you don't look. You decorate her with meaning. You offer her your devotion, your time, your certainty, anything to avoid silence. Anything to avoid the unbearable truth that she is not a person, not even a woman, but the echo of your own incomplete self. And to love her is to love your lack. To desire her is to feed the very emptiness you flee. The moon is always full when you gaze up, but inside her, nothing burns. She becomes everything you hoped for, nurturing, soft, submissive, and still, you are restless. You wake beside her and feel something missing. You think it is her fault. You think maybe she has changed. But it is not she who has changed. It is the mask that has grown thin. Her smile no longer conceals the coldness beneath. Her laughter echoes like wind through a ruined temple. You want the dream back. You plead, you accuse. But she does nothing. She only watches, as if waiting for you to remember. You were never in control. The Anima does not seduce, she reveals. She opens your eyes to the parts of you you swore were dead. Your shame, your hunger, your need to be devoured. She is not the reward. She is the gatekeeper, the guardian of the abyss you forgot was inside you. And the moment you touched her hand and thought it was yours to hold, you passed through the veil without knowing. Now you cannot sleep. You see her face in every woman. You hear her voice in the silence after sex. You feel her absence even in the arms of someone real. That is her cruelty. She haunts you not as a ghost, but as an archetype. The more you chase her, the more she multiplies. And each version is a little more hollow, a little more cruel. until even her kindness becomes unbearable. You tell yourself she changed. You blame her for the pain, but pain was the path. Pain was the offering. She was never meant to love you. She was meant to burn you clean, but you clung. You called her yours. You begged her to stay. And now you are alone, not because she left, but because you never dared see what she truly was. She wears the face you desire, but behind it is the mother who never spoke, the sister who vanished, the lover who smiled while turning away. She is every woman you could not touch, every wound you would not name, and still you chase her, still you dream of her, still you hope to find the one who will look back without demanding your soul in return. But that woman does not exist. She is the illusion that keeps you asleep. The true Anima does not give peace. She gives reflection, and in her gaze, you see not her, but yourself torn, trembling, undone. That is the moment most men run, but you do not run, not yet. You stay, you stare, and the mask begins to melt. You see now her smile is made of centuries. Her silence is inherited. Her eyes, they are your own, watching from the other side of a dream. She is the moon, yes, but not the gentle one that lights your path. She is the blood moon, the eclipse, the devourer of light. She was never here to guide you. She came to strip you bare. You wanted salvation. She gave you shadow. You wanted a bride. She became the witch. You wanted truth. She gave you paradox. And still, some part of you returns. That is the mystery. That is the pull. You cannot let her go because she is not a woman. She is the thread that leads you through the labyrinth of your own soul. Follow her and you risk madness. Turn away and you forget your name. Now she is gone, or so you think. But the images remain. A touch that never happened, a scent with no source, a wound that opens every time you try to love again. You call it heartbreak, but it is not. It is initiation. She has entered your psyche and made a home there not as a comfort, but as a warning. She waits in your dreams, not to kiss you, but to drown you. And one night, you wake, not with fear, but with clarity. You see her not as savior, not as demon, but as the moon itself, always changing, never yours, always pulling. And in that moment, something breaks, not loudly, quietly, like a breath finally released. You do not own her, you never did, but you can face her now. You can walk into her light and not flinch. And that is how you begin. Not by loving her, but by letting her burn the mask you wore in her presence. Only then does she whisper your true name. Only then does the reflection become real. There is a place inside her you will never reach. You see only the gate overgrown with roses, soft vines, and the perfume of innocence. She smiles, and the garden blooms in your mind. You believe you are invited. You believe you are the exception, the one she has been waiting for. But what grows behind that gate has roots far older than you. She is not waiting for you. She is tending something, something that existed before your name was formed in her mouth. You call her gentle because her voice does not strike. You call her pure because her wounds are hidden. But the Anima is neither gentle nor pure. She is soil, she is decay, she is rebirth wearing perfume. You cannot hold her because she is always growing, not upwards, but down. You do not touch her soul, you disturb it. And when you do, something ancient stirs. She is the mother, not the one who comforts, but the one who devours, the one whose lullaby is hunger. You thought she was a woman in pain, but pain is her power. Her suffering is ritual. Her silence is spellwork. You listen to her speak of longing, and you offer yourself as savior. But you misunderstand. Her longing is not for you. It is for the wound itself, for the sweetness of being torn open again. This is the truth you cannot accept. She desires her own destruction, not consciously, not cruelly, but archetypally. It is the feminine within her that remembers the temple where the virgin bled for the harvest, where pleasure and ruin were married at the altar of time. You think you are the man who will protect her, but she is not looking for protection. She is waiting for the one who can enter without collapsing, the one who sees the serpent beneath the flower and does not flinch. You were warned, not in words, but in glances, in pauses, in that moment after she laughed, when her eyes grew still and you looked away. That was the threshold. You felt it, and still, you walked in. Still, you believed the garden was meant for you, but gardens are not for keeping. They are for growing, and what grows inside her is not yours to name. There is a part of her that mourns while she loves, a part that turns her face while you speak. She is not cold. She is listening to something deeper than you, a voice beneath your voice, an echo from a time before men stood upright, when the feminine was not form, but force. She listens to that. Not your promises, not your plans, but the myth you unknowingly carry in your spine. If it is hollow, she will smile and leave. She tests you without trying. Her presence alone is the trial. You think you are choosing her, but it is she who is weighing your soul, not by action, but by vibration. You do not pass or fail. You resonate or you vanish. That is her cruelty. That is her grace. You never know until she is already gone. But some remain, not in her heart, but in the roots, buried, consumed. She forgets them, but only above ground. Below, they live on, as thorns, as shadows, as the soil that feeds her next bloom. You want to be remembered. You want to be her first. But the Anima has no first. She has only cycles. You are not her beginning. You are her season. And when it ends, she sheds you like skin. This is not malice. It is memory. She remembers everything you forget. The boy in you who needed to be seen. The father in you who demanded control. The beast in you who whispered for obedience. She saw them all and smiled, not because she accepted them, but because she knew they would soon burn. You loved her most when she needed you, when she cried, when she doubted herself, because that made you feel strong, necessary, real. But the Anima does not remain in weakness. That was only one mask. Behind it, another waits. The Sorceress, the one who weaves with her hands in silence, the one who smiles while knowing you are not enough. And that is what breaks you, not rejection, but revelation, that she is whole without you, that her love was not surrender, but performance, that her desire was a mirror and you, only ever your own reflection. You scream betrayal, but you were the one who projected. You painted over the thorns with petals. You drank poison and called it wine. Now you find yourself staring at messages unanswered, at her name glowing in silence. You want her back, but you do not know who her is anymore. Was she the girl crying on your chest, or the woman who never blinked as you walked away? You want the mask, not the force. You want the comfort, not the myth. But the garden does not bloom backwards, and she will not become less for you. You remember her laugh not because it was joyful, but because it was layered. It always carried something hidden. You did not ask what. You were afraid. Rightly so, because beneath her smile was the beast, the one who watches, the one who devours kings. She carries the archetype of annihilation, and you mistook it for charm. But now you see it, not in her, in yourself. She was the gate, you were the offering. You feel her absence not as emptiness, but as echo, a garden still growing inside you, though she is gone, because you are no longer looking for love. You are looking for the myth. You think you need closure, you think she owes you truth, but the Anima gives no answers, only invitations, symbols, cycles. Her silence is not cruelty, it is continuation. The story does not end when she leaves, it begins, because now you carry her within, not as memory, but as wound, and that wound will speak in dreams, in choices, in the way you hesitate before trusting again. She left you nothing, and in that, everything. You are no longer whole, but you are no longer asleep. Her garden took you, and something in you began to bloom. But bloom into what? That is what you cannot name. Not yet. You are still walking through her, through every path she carved in your psyche. Some led to sorrow, some to rage. But one path, the one you avoid, leads down, deeper, past the myths, past the masks, to the root, and there, in the soil of your soul, you find her again, not as woman, not as dream, but as force, as presence, as the truth that nothing you love can be possessed, that every desire is a mirror, and every mirror a gate. You thought she was your future, she was your origin, and now she is your haunting, not as pain, as potential. She made you feel like a god, only to show you the child beneath, and in that revelation, a rebirth. You do not forgive her, you do not need to. She was never wrong, only archetypal, only inevitable, and now you walk with her inside you, not beside, within. It begins again when you see her face in the mirror, not hers, not truly, but the one you gave her, a look, a shape, a softness once unfamiliar and now impossibly yours. You trace it with your mind, trying to separate your image from hers, but the outline blurs. She was never outside of you. The fire started within. She only struck the match. And now you are burning. You thought you desired her, but what you desired was your own return, the forgotten king buried in the garden, the father who was never seen, the boy who swallowed longing like a stone. She awakened him, not with tenderness, but with trial. She came as beauty, but her gift was destruction, not of you, of the man you pretended to be. You search for her in other women, but you are not searching for love. You are searching for reflection, for the moment when her eyes revealed the abyss and you smiled back. Every woman becomes a screen, a ritual, a test you already failed. You offer your hands, but you hide your fire, and they see it. They all see it. That unspeakable hunger not for sex, not for union, but for confrontation, for the wound to be named again. You are not looking for a partner. You are looking for the one who will burn you clean, and none of them are willing. They want love, and you carry myth. They want safety, and you carry ruin. They touch your chest and feel the heat of an ancient temple, desecrated and full of song. You say nothing, you smile, but inside, you are waiting for her to return. Not the woman, the flame. She became the fire because you refused to see her as soul. You called her body, you called her yours. You saw her grief and thought it made her yours to protect. But her grief was older than you. Her grief was the grief of the earth, of bloodlines, of dreams passed between mothers. She bled with a purpose. You wrapped her in comfort, and that is why she vanished. You believed she needed you, but the Anima does not need. She calls, she tests, she reveals, and when you fail, she disappears. not out of cruelty, but rhythm. You were not ready. You saw the flame and feared the smoke, but now you live in it. You cannot return to the man you were. His skin no longer fits. The fire is everywhere. You feel it in your stomach when you remember her scent. You see it in your dreams, where she dances in shadows wearing your mother's voice. You hear it when silence lasts too long. That is not absence. That is her whisper. You never left her garden. You only woke up and found it had grown inside your ribs. And still, you do not speak of her, not to others, not even to yourself. You pretend to move on, but your feet follow her footsteps. You touch others but feel her skin. You tell yourself it was just love, but love does not rearrange your bones. Love does not open doors to ancient archetypes. Love does not leave symbols carved behind your eyes. She is not a ghost, she is a mirror. You stand before her and see everything you denied, the lies you told to be chosen, the hunger you masked as charm, the weakness you named tenderness. She saw them all. She loved you not in spite of them, but because they confirmed your role. You were never her equal. You were the one who must fall. And you did. Not loudly, quietly. You stopped laughing the same. You looked away more. You said less. Not because you forgot her, but because you remembered something deeper, that your desire was never for her. It was for the transformation she promised. You mistook the key for the kingdom. You speak of her now in fragments, as a lesson, as a mistake. But the words rot in your mouth, because the truth is too holy, too raw. She was the one who called your soul forward, not with kindness, but with myth. You were not ready. You turned away. And now you are marked. She is the wound that won't close, the symbol that repeats, the goddess who denied you entry because you bowed to the image, not the essence. You wanted her naked body, but she offered her cloaked spirit. You said you wanted all of her, but only if she stayed small enough to carry. And yet, the flame remains. You are not who you were. You walk differently, speak differently. Even your silence feels deeper, because you carry her gaze inside you now. The one that stripped you of performance. The one that asked, "Who are you?" when no one watches. You cannot answer, not yet, but you return to the mirror each night, not to check your face, but to listen, to wait, for the fire, for the flicker, for the impossible truth that you are her now, not in form, in force, in mystery. You are becoming what you feared. The Anima does not come once. She comes in cycles, as dream, as longing, as the face of the next woman who enters with too much silence in her step. You will recognize her by the way she looks past you. She is not rude, she is measuring, not your words, your myth. If you are empty, she will smile and pass. You ask, what must I become to be chosen? But that is the wrong question. You were chosen the moment you fell. The fall was the right. The pain was the altar. And now the ashes remain. You kneel in them, alone, not mourning, preparing, because something new is forming in the smoke. You thought she would return, but she never left. She only shifted. The face is gone, but the flame is in you now. You are the mirror, and the next woman will not bring light. She will bring recognition, and you will know by the way your bones tighten, by the way your voice drops, that she is not who you wanted. She is who you needed. You feared losing her, but what you lost was illusion, or what remains is initiation. The Anima is not your lover. She is your trial. She leads you through yourself, through the forest of symbols, through the fire of forgetting, through the silence of becoming. And when you emerge, you do not ask for her. You thank her and keep walking, because now You understand. She was never asking to be loved. She was asking to be seen. And to see her truly is to see yourself. Not the man you built, the one beneath, the one whose heart still bleeds myth, who still prays in secret to the flame. And you are no longer afraid of that prayer. You return to the mirror, but no longer to search. You stand before it and wait, not for her, but for what she left behind. The flicker beneath the eyes, the ember in the voice, the silence that no longer feels empty. The anima does not end, she changes shape. A hand on your shoulder, a dream of drowning, a whisper that wakes you without sound. You will meet her again not as lover, but as storm. And when she arrives, you will not reach, you will bow, you will burn. And in that fire, you will see not her face, but your own unmasked, ancient, alive. The flame was never meant to be held, it was meant to consume, and it has only just begun.